much. So I've seen two of sisters, one of 8 years old and 10 years old. They have developed chronic renal failure and they died. And since then onwards, I have seen this families, all this struggle. And since that time onwards, I have started to do the study in regenerative medicine, especially the stem cells and in the chronic renal failure. So today also we can see that so many patients around us that they are suffering and they are how much trouble they are getting to get the organs and how much they have to suffer to give this treatment to these chronic renal failure patients. So the whole family, because of this thing, is in trouble. So today we are started as is recognized as all over the world. It is a very, very critical issue around the world. Even though the body is a complex machine, remains messy even after medical surgeries. Every 30 seconds, we can say that the patient dies. We can able to save because of the regeneration or the tissue to the plantation. The only thing is what happens in the renal failure patients is the renal fibrosis. This is the causative factor we can see because of the anoxia or the hypoxia of the tissues caused by the fibrosis, which give rise to the constriction of the vessels and giving rise to anoxia. This is maybe the insult of the tissue at that area and which give rise to a scar. And this scar is gone on increase till it forms a total failure of the kidney. So for that purpose, the revascularization of the that sufficient or sufficient amount of restoring of the blood supply to that particular portion or the kidney itself is the main treatment we can say by eliminating the fibrosis and restoring the function of the kidney. So coming to that, the current what we are seeing is only this big treatment. Even though the patient comes in early stages like first and second stage, even though at that time the fibrosis is very less and the output of the urine is quite good and the elasticity of the tissue, which is very important as far as the regeneration is concerned, is also quite good. But in spite of that, we have to treat this patient with antifibrotic drugs or the steroids or the treatment. But at last, because the patient has to wait for going from first stage to second stage, and we give this type of treatment, and ultimately the fibrosis goes on increasing because of this. The fibrosis is progressing, and again it will start the constriction of the vessel, and this constriction gives rise to obliteration and anoxia. So this is a vicious circle between the fibrosis and the anoxia because your kidneys are very sensitive to the anoxic conditions, and more the anoxia, more the loss of blood supply, more is the formation of the fibrosis. The main cause formation is hypoxia. Therefore, the renal oxidation pathophysiology is the most important thing. So, because the fibrosis is there, if at all we can able to give the more and more oxygen to that particular portion of the kidney can able to regenerate. So this obliteration is very important. Therefore, we say that oxygen imbalance of the delivery of the oxygen and consumption, there is a difference because the oxygen is there, but because of the constriction of the vessel, the oxygen is not really supplied to up to the tissue level, and therefore the patient going to the tissue going to hypoxia and develops fibrosis. So the main target in such a cases of this is the intervention to give the oxygen to the tissue. So how the intervention can be done? The oxygen cannot get unless until the blood supply is there. So to get this, the main is to eliminate the fibrosis and improving the interstitial blood supply, and that will give rise to adequate blood supply to that tissue. This is the renal transplant, and say that this the first renal transplant was done in 1954. Since then, that time onwards, there is no change in medicine as far as the surgery, so, but that's relief for the patient after the transplantation of the kidney to the patient. So, because I love the transplant, the first I, so, no, this is the, I can say that this is the renal transplant, this first one done in 1954. Since that time onwards, there is no change in medicine as far as the or the type, operative type of changes are there. Because even though we are seeing this, or there are a lot of change in the antifibrotic drugs, the sufferings of the patients are still there because of the side effects of the drugs also, and even after the getting the transplant, the patient's life is because he is living with the disease only, and therefore the patient's sufferings are not reduced at all. So therefore, we say that the treatment required and the treatment given to the renal patient, the study is quite different. So whatever different we see that we wanted the different treatment in CKD is elimination of fibrosis. So that is the main treatment because of that thing, the blood supply or the anoxia is developed there. So unless and until you get the blood supply, you cannot totally cure the patient. It is replacement is not solution for this because these transplants also get a an interstitial fibrosis and they are grafts also rejected after some time. So to develop the inner immunity, that is the most important. To save the graft, instead of giving the medicine or immunosuppressive drugs, we must start to give the acquired immunity in the patient. So some data or some papers have been written that walking is the best treatment or to develop an immunity to reduce the dialysis and also change of the transplant also. Any problem?
No, sorry, you can continue.
Okay. I thought there is some. So what the kidneys, anosmia, the hypoxia in the tissue, that is because of the vasoconstriction of the vessel due to atherosclerosis or anemia. This may be the vasoconstriction may be due to fibrosis also. The congenital or the acquired congenital also give rise to such sort of kidney diseases. And every kidney disease and ultimately land into a fibrosis. The pathological end result is the fibrosis. And therefore, all the consistent, there are different etiological factors, we can say, including immunological, mechanical, metabolic, or the insults, like toxic also. But ultimately, it affects the vascular, glomerular, or interstitial, tubercular interstitial spaces. The main, which is the important for the plasma filtration. We can see the definition of the chronic kidney disease. Severe is a health problem with high cost treatment, a very poor outcome in CKD means kidney damage, which causes the waste to build in the body. The progressive disease is a very slow growing process going on for months or years. And therefore, it cannot be noticed in early stages. The patient comes to the doctor in the almost first and second stage, and where the establishment of the fibrosis is already present. It is not that the fibrosis is not there. The patient comes with the established fibrosis, and then we have to give the treatment to this patient, and that is in the early stages. So definition comes to that if the person gets a more than 3 months a defined structural functional abnormality in the kidney, with or without GFR, the glomerular filtration very important criteria to us whether kidney is or not filling. Another condition is the pathological abnormality. Suppose if we take the kidney biopsy and we find out that there is a drop down of the capillaries, excessive formation of the excessive fibrosis, and along with that, the tubular necrosis. This finding we can make out that there is a cause of the chronic kidney diseases. So another thing is the glomerular filtration rate. It depends upon how much is the glomerular less than 60 cc per minute is the 3 months consecutively remains for long time, we can label as a chronic kidney disease. So because it is a slow process going on for months or years, this is graded into different stages. And depending upon these stages, the treatment is given to the patient. And that's this, we can show that in this is the stage one with normal high pressure GFR less than more than 90 cc per minute. Then stage two is the mild CKD with GFR 60 to 89. And stage 3A and 3B, it's seen that 45 to 59. And like that, these are the stages what we see. So this is called as renal fibrosis. This is the section what we are seeing here is the renal fibrosis. Here we see this is a normal kidney with the tubule and the capillaries. See their capillaries. These capillaries are very close to them and they can give rise to a diffusion and this will give rise to filtration rate here. But in this case, when the fibrosis occurred, this fibrosis is going on, it is called interstitial fibrosis, which is going on in between the capillaries and the tubules. And because of this formation of these fibrosis, the distance between the tubule and the capillaries goes on increasing. And because it is the distance is more, the diffusion of the from the blood to the tubule is not possible, and therefore there develops anoxia. The function of that tubule is not there, and because of the more and more fibrosis is formed in between these tubules and the capillaries, the tissue becomes very stiff, and therefore the kidney becomes a very hard and solid-like structures. So this is the condition we can see in the renal fibrosis. And because of formation of this fibrosis, the capillaries get constricted. You can see the constriction of the vessels, and because of the constriction, the blood supply to these tubules is reduced, and also the distance is increased. Therefore, there is a definite anoxia, and therefore these tubules get also damaged. And this is for the end stage of the renal failure. So renal failure's main cause is the arterial constriction. The narrow it loses the elasticity of the because of the fibrosis. The elasticity of the vessel is a very important in giving the blood supply. And this elasticity is lost, and therefore there is an interrupted blood supply to the tissues. The kidney is the most vascular body or the most vascular organ in the body. It gives almost 25% of the blood supply or the cardiac output to the kidney itself only. So that block, many efforts have been made to how to take out the fibrosis is the main important thing. Most of the time we are seeing that we are seeing in the laboratory that we are doing a lot of exercise or the data is collected from the lab that such and such drugs is useful for such and such patients. But these tests are done in the laboratory. The creation of that fibrosis is in the lab on the animal is between 1 month to weeks, because it is a very, very acutely done fibrosis on which the test has been done. But in chronic renal failure in the human being, takes years or months to take form the fibrosis. And this fibrosis is solid form, and therefore it is called chronic because it is a long-standing fibrosis. And therefore, whatever the test we do or whatever the drugs we find as an antifibrotic drugs in the laboratory will not be a good for the drugs for the human being also. And therefore, this treatment sometimes it is not suitable for the human being. Sometimes the patient give good response, but sometimes they are not in a giving good response for the. So we have to try the different types of medicine to, because at that time also we are not eliminating the fibrosis, but we are holding or the slowing down the process of fibrosis. It is not the elimination, it is just holding. So this will give a rise to, because fibrosis is a natural phenomena. It is a natural tissue in our body. Because wherever the tissue heals or after injury, it develops a fibrosis. Because fibrosis is nothing but the collagen tissue. The type 1 and type 3 is a collagen tissue. And these collagen tissue are present throughout the body, in the or skin all organs, bones, and everywhere. The bones or the viscera are made for the collagen fibers only because it forms a scaffold on which the cells are mounted. So this it's a natural tissue in our body. So that can be not be when you give the antifibrotic drugs, this will not affect on this one. So it is difficult that the kidney, because of this, the kidney slowly lose the regenerative power. More the fibrosis is formed, more the vascularity is gone, more the constriction or the microvascular environment is disturbed. Therefore, the regenerative power of the particular kidney is lost. And because more the losses of the blood, more the fibrosis is developed. So we are coming to the regenerative medicine as such. The field of research is replacing the damaged or injured tissues. To have same implantation, scientists regenerate tissues or organs in the laboratory with the help of tissue engineering and stem cell therapy. The creation of supporting environments is the most important thing. When you are, because when in 1981, when the stem cell come to the picture, there's a lot of hope and excitement that we can able to solve the problem about the chronic kidney diseases. But because when you start to producing these stem cells in the laboratory, in the expanded with the help of this culture media, and these cells are implanted into the damaged or diseased kidney. At that time, this is not acceptable because there is no supporting environment present in the kidney itself. And therefore, whatever the cells which are injected inside the kidney tissue at the different levels, you can say in the capsule or the cortex or the medulla, these are not able to survive there at a different because of this cell-based therapy. Because the kidney itself, suppose sometimes we start with the creation of an organ in the laboratory by taking that we take the organ-specific stem cells, they get expanded in the laboratory, and formation of a good polymer hydrogel or this scaffold, and you try to form the kidney in the laboratory. The kidney is such a difficult or the multifunctional organ having a 20 types of cells. Such a type of complex kidney or the organ is difficult to be regenerated in the laboratory. And even though we can try to make artificial kidney, what we call is an bio-artificial organ, even though we can able to plant it, that it is difficult because whether the body will accept the things or not, we don't know. And another important thing that the stem cells, whenever you take it and expand it outside, when the cell, any cell, we can take it from the body and put it in the petri dish, it loses its potency. So whenever you try to do this in the expanded cells on the organ-specific cells in the laboratory, the more the branches we can say that more and more you start to expand them, the potency of the cell or the stem cells will go on reducing. So suppose to get a normal kidney function, which is present in our body, if you try to make an bio-artificial kidney, will require a huge amount of stem cells and that stem cells to be scaffolded. So you will get a normal kidney which is present in our body is 3 to 4 centimeters, will require a bigger size of kidney for the making the same amount of function. That is just if at all we can able to do it. Because at present, whatever we are doing just a statue because there is no blood supply. Because there is no blood supply, we are able to give it to the kidney as such. So therefore, in regenerative medicine, there are two types of there is a non-modular structure and the modular structure. The non-modular structure where we can say that the skin that can be done by taking the organ-specific cells and we can multiply the cells and put it in the as in the form of graft or in the burn spaces. The another thing is a tube-like structures like a carotid arteries or bronchus or and anything like that. So this can be done that taking the organ-specific stem cells and quick accumulated to the scaffold and just such type of treatment, we can able to produce the pipe-like structures. But these pipe-like structures also not more than 1 to 2 centimeters. We cannot give the big mass because these cells are not able to survive for a long period in that case. So this carotid arteries, that carotid arteries is implanted because even though we have done this all sorts of laboratory researches, FDO has to give the permission for this. So in 1997, actually the tube-like structure has formed, but to put a graft in karate takes 11 years. So in the non-molar structure, tube-like structure, like a flat-like structure, like you can say the stomach or the uh, mm, bladder, urinary bladder. If there is a malignancy, you can take out the part of the tissue and you can put a graft by taking the organ-specific stem cells and along with the scaffold. So these processes are non-modular, and we can say it is a bridging process. It's a bridging. We can cut the things, and you can say the bridging process. And but this type of material, what we are using and implanting, that doesn't take blood supply. We are joining not the blood, but they give the blood supply from the diffusion system, from the surrounding structures, and they can survive. So there's no necessity of giving or directly contact with the blood supply by joining the blood vessels. But in molecular structure, which is the most complex, and that is the organs. These organs are solid organs having a lot of blood supply, and therefore they cannot be, even though it is prepared nowadays in the laboratory, most of the things can be created. Mounting just or making a scaffold and putting the stem cells on the scaffold doesn't make a solution, because these organs should work and give the blood supply in a proper way. As the kidney circuit is so complicated because it has got multiple functions. 20 types of cells are there. And such a type of complicated organs is and doing many functions. And this cannot be happen to be in the laboratory. Because even though we can join the vessels, the there are plenty of functions like this, giving rise to the how they give the signals to the tissues, like because the signals are going through the soluble, the chemical structures from the neuron to the blood vessels. These signals are going to the different tissues or the surrounding cells also. So these things cannot be done in artificial or the bioartificial organ. So making an organ making or expanding the cells is not only the problem, it is a problem about the blood supply and the rest of the things. It is not the question just to take out the few drops of urine or the urine only, but it is a question of having a normal function of the kidney which is present in our body. Otherwise, it is nothing but a small dialysis machine. And therefore, it is better that we can see that whether we can able to do these things, that is, it will take more time and more research in this space. So whatever the treatment what we give in the regenerative medicine is therefore is a palliative treatment. So therapeutic repair regeneration. The utilization of transplanted stem cells in regenerative medicine has been extensively used as a potential therapy to repair and replace the tissue. But the effect in the as far as the organs are concerned, it is very difficult to make the organs at present. So therefore, regenerative science is the important thing. The regenerative science is nothing but the self-organ regeneration. The self-organ regeneration is the most neglected part of the science which is studied so far. Even when I was student at that time, reasoning was not such. It was just 1 or 2 pages. But since the 1981 onwards, when the stem cells comes into the picture, the lot of data is available as far as regenerative medicine is concerned. In that, we can say that therefore, okay, can you hear me? You can hear me or not? Can you hear? Can you hear me?
Yes, Professor. Yes,
Oh,
Sir,
yes, no,
sir.
yes. No, somebody has whistled, therefore I stopped it. So, I lost the. Uh, so talking about the self-organ regeneration of the tissue, that this regeneration this is present in the body itself. We are getting the regenerative power in the since birth only. So we can see the regenerative power in whole, not only in the human being, also in the animals also. And this regenerative power is controlled by the human body itself. There's nothing external thing is acquired, and this process is to be understood because not much study was done on the regenerative science so far, and therefore regenerative power, whenever the tissue get injured, how the cell knows that this is injured and how to help them to repair the tissue at that point. And therefore the main priority to eliminate. So regeneration is the most important thing. The self-organ regeneration is the most important thing. And this power is, you must able to trust your own body rather than to anybody else. The preparation or the regeneration of the kidney itself in the body is more feasible than to produce in the laboratory, and it is implanted in the tissue or in the body only. This kidney blood supply, this is a kidney, we can see this is the direct renal artery bank give rise to this antuber art which is going there and supplying. The main thing is the kidney capsule, under which we can able to see that the different types of stem cell niches are present. And these stem cell niches are supplied by these intralobar arteries. Whenever there is a fibrosis present, this is called as the medulla of the kidney, and this is the cortex. And these are the arteries supplying to this part of the kidney. The main thing is that wherever the fibrosis occurs, this goes on giving that's called pyramid of pulse and the parenchyma of the kidney tissue. Whenever this fibrosis occurs in this area, this gets constricted. These vessels get constricted, and therefore the supply of this kidney capsules along with this is called as a nephrogenic area where the kidney is developed at time of developmental point. And this area, the nephrogenic area, consists of plenty of stem cell niches, and this stem cell niches is supplied by state of artery. So whenever you get a constriction because of the fibrosis in this area, this get anoxia there. And even though the kidney damages, because in acute condition, we can able to regenerate the kidney tissue. But in chronic condition, why you can't do it? Because if you are able to do it in acute condition, it is bad that you can do it. But the chronic condition is developed because of the fibrosis of the renal tissue. In acute condition, the fibrosis is not there. So supply can be given, and therefore, this area which is giving rise to the stem cell niches, even though they were getting this supply, they will not get a fibrosis here. And therefore, because even though the fibrosis occur here or the pressure is here, they cannot expand there to touch there is a distance between the capsule and the fibrosis is present. This is called, this is called as a development kit is called as a blue strip because it contains a plenty of stem cell niches during the time of development. And these blue strips, stem cells, they produce a nephron. And these nephrons are in future, they develop this filtration plant in the kidney itself. The that is called a subcapsular region. The multiple stem niches are defined as a blue strip. The base of the endogenous region. This is the base for the endogenous. Whatever we are talking about the treatment part of it, this is the endogenous stem cells are called as native stem cells or the resident stem cells which are present under the subcapsular region. And when there is a vasoconstriction because of this fibrosis, they won't get the blood supply and they lost their regenerative power. So normalization of that particular area or the elimination of that particular parenchymal area will give rise to blood supply to that niches, and they get stimulation to form a regenerative, they develop regenerative power, and they get a new nephrons when it is required. So now coming to this is a hydrostatic pressure on the cells and the tissue. This cellular environment acts on the tissue repair via mechanical. There are mechanical forces because this hydrostatic pressure is also not in study so far in this thing on what are the effects of the cells on the tissues. The mechanical stresses play important role in constructing and modifying the organs in the tissues. The hydrostatic pressure inhibits the collagen matrix. So main principle in this, the effect of this pressure is over the collagen tissue, which is we require in the renal tissue. The production suppresses the fibroid into myofibroblasts. The increase in intramural pressure persistently elevated over 20 to 30 centimeters of water, severe pathological disorders. The high pressure causes tissue and cell degeneration. The hydrostatic pressure is a normal pressure which is present in our body, but it depends upon, it is not that high so that the tissue can be degenerated. But where you want some sort of effect on the tissue, we can increase the pressure by some methods so that they can able to, whatever the cells we don't want, we can degenerate the cells, or we can able to alter the structure or the function properties of the cells. The hydrostatic pressure is one of the most common mechanical stimuli in the playing critical role in homeostasis of the organ system. So the high pressure have potential to disturb structure of the ECM through protein denaturation. So this is very important that the hydrostatic plays an important role in treating some of the diseases. So it can be used in the bones also. This pressure can be used also bone problems in the certain data. So here I am saying that every cell has got the right genetic information to create organ. Just put them in right environment. This is Dr. Anthony Altla. It is very important that from one single cell, the whole human body develops with bones, skin, and lashes. Then why we can able to produce from one single nephron the whole kidney? Because why from the one cell develop one whole body? Because of the environment. The environment is more important. As we can say that the cell as well as the environment is a very important thing. If the environment is not good, the cell will not work properly. If the cell is not potential or the quality cell is not there, they cannot be produced anything or a function of this. So whenever say that there is an environment damage is there, then there cannot be a regeneration. So the body itself is a huge laboratory. There is a central lab associated with the different labs around him. We can say the liver, kidney, everybody has got his own small sub-labs. And the supply is given according to the requirement. And this is nothing but a skin body is nothing but a petri dish covered with skin. The skin, all the culture is coming in this is the blood, and in the laboratory, the petri dish, both whether cell is in the petri dish, the body, it requires culture and environment. Both are, as far as the regeneration is concerned or the function of the organ is concerned. And therefore, the environment is a most important thing, which is disturbed in the case of renal fibrosis, and therefore the regeneration is not taking place. So the proposed methodology, what I'm saying is right now, is but before that what is the supporting evidence for this to go to this hypopressure? That one is, you can say, the The keloid, you must be knowing, the keloid is a structure which is called as a scar over the skin or the hand or anything because of the injury, a small injury can develop scar. And these scars are called as a keloid. This keloid also consists of a lot of fibrous tissue or the collagen tissue, and it becomes very hard. And this can give rise to more itching and discomfort to the patient. And therefore, some people, they used to excise it, but because of excision, so it develops more and more fibrosis, more and more keloid formation. Therefore, nowadays it has been used as a pressure therapy of the compression of the keloid. And keloid tissue or the keloid fibrosis and the renal fibrosis go parallel to each other. So whatever the type of fibrosis we see in the keloid, the same type of fibrosis we'll see in the renal fibrosis. And therefore, we treat the keloid with the help of compression or the pressure therapy. But that pressure should be even, sustained pressure for a prolonged time. And that will be associated with devices. So when you give pressure for a long time, this keloid can be disappear, or at least they become thinned out, and the itching and the symptoms of the that keloid will be reduced. So giving the pressure, the keloid will be also get rise to thin out. So what I'm suggesting that the same type of keloid or the same type of fibrosis tissue is present in our body in the deeper organ tissue, like the liver, kidney, and even in the lungs. And in the lungs also, we can giving a pressure that compression therapy, because ventilator is a compression therapy actually, because therefore we can give this pressure to the deep organs situated in our body. For the liver, we cannot give that pressure because it is deeply seated. But for the kidney, it is the best solution, because anatomically the kidney is the best because it has got producing a urine itself. It has got a ureter to block, and when you be able to block the kidney and able to block completely, and if the naturally the urine is forming in the kidney itself, then we can able to give that hydrostatic pressure which is required for the elimination of the fibrosis. The another thing is what we are discussing is what's supporting is the hydronephrosis. The hydronephrosis is nothing but a blockage at the ureter or ureter system, fracture and develops hydronephrosis in the kidney. And this gives rise to the pressure, collection of the urine. They damage the normal tissue of the kidney. They damage the normal tissue and develops a kidney. The pathophysiology of forming a chronic kidney disease and the hydronephrosis is absolutely the same. There, the normal kidney is damaged because of the obstruction, and it develops fibrosis. And if the block is not removed, it goes into renal failure. But if at that time, if the obstruction has been removed, then the kidney can regenerate. So when the obstruction is removed, kidney can be regenerated in the hydronephrosis. So here in our chronic kidney diseases, we are blocking here the kidney and making artificial block here and develop hydronephrosis. So it is called as a pseudo-hydronephrosis. It is a pseudo-hydronephrosis because it's artificially we are blocking the kidney here. And this develops urine too. So there, the kidney is because of the block, the normal tissue is damaged. Here, what we are trying to do is blocking and producing the fibrosis to be eliminated, or it can be because of the back pressure, this will be eliminated. So this is the difference what we can say, that is the supporting evidence I am telling. So this is here what we are seeing. This is a normal kidney we are seeing. So here what we are saying as a stretching and relaxation technique to reduce the fibrosis. So the block is here, the artificial block is prepared here, and once you block it here, the urine what is collecting, it is collected in the kidney itself. So one important thing is that in early stages, in the stages what we are just now seeing, in the early stages, the first and second stage, the fibrosis is not much. The elasticity of the tissue is also quite good, and the function of the kidney is important because it should form urine. Otherwise, blockage will not be, it will take a long time to produce the urine or to fill up the kidney itself. So the two things are important, the elasticity of the tissue and means less amount of fibrosis, and therefore early detection and the first and second will give a good result in this type of treatment, what I am suggesting just now giving. So when you block the kidney, then you can see in the next day, within 4 or 5 days, you can able to give more and more urine is collected inside the tissue, and we can see that after 4 days or these are the things we can see that the urine is giving rise to pressure, and here we can see it is completely filled up with the urine and giving rise to the back pressure to the kidney. And you can see the pressure is giving, and this is called as a renal capsule. The renal capsule is the most strong capsule, even it is a connective tissue, and it's a very strong structure. In spite of giving a tremendous amount of pressure produced by the blockage, it holds the organs in a proper way. It is not an unstable, it is a proper. And therefore, because this capsule is a strong structure, it gives rise to back pressure. When you push directly, this gives us back pressure, and therefore there is an action against reaction. There's action against reaction. Therefore, the fibrous tissue is sandwiched between hydrostatic pressure and the capsule, renal capsule resistance. And therefore, this can give rise to thinning of the fibrosis, because fibrosis is a very strong structure when it is united. But when it is, our aim is here to break the unity of fibrosis. Our aim is to break the unity of fibrosis by giving the pressure on either side. We can make it able to break it, then separate it. After making the separation, you can thin it out and then eliminate. So these are the different stages we can go through by giving a stretching and relaxation. So once it is filled up completely, after some time, you can take out the block from here and let the urine go flow. The urine is going out, and therefore the fibrotic part is collapsed. The fibrotic part is collapsed. So this is called stretching and relaxation. Every cell in the body requires stretching and relaxation. Unless until stretching and relaxation is not there, the cell will die. Because to create a function, the develop stretching, and it is a sort of an exercise they require to give rise to function, vascularity, immunity, and all the thing, growth, proliferation. It depends upon the stretching and relaxation. If that thing is stopped, then you cannot be, that cell will die. So this is saying that totally the urine has been come out of the kidney and it is completely gone, and the stretching of this fibrosis is collapsed. Because of the stretching, then you start to take out the urine and give rise to the relaxation. And during the relaxation, it is relaxing. The fibrosis is totally collapsed. So at one stage, it will not be done. So we are doing this procedure, same type of procedure, in a cyclic way or the periodic way. So here, after this removing, we can wait for 24 to 48 hours, and again you can fill up the same procedure. So like that, depending upon, and you can make out that on the CT or the ultrasonography or MRI, we can see how much is the chances or how much is the damage or how much is the collapsing take place over the fibrosis. And from that, we can able to make out how much loss. And it is not necessary that the whole fibrosis should be dissolved or eliminated. Even though 10% of the fibrosis is eliminated, or the 10% of the regenerative power has come into existence, you don't have to do anything. The body itself start regenerating, because the pressure, when the fibrosis is limited in that way, it becomes thinned out. The pressure over the vascularity or the network of the microcirculation, that is completely gone, and automatically the blood circulation will start. And this blood circulation gives rise to more and more oxygen to the tissues which is required. And this gives rise to the stem cell niches around the place there, and they start regeneration. So even at that time, whenever you can do the pulsing, whatever the nephrons which are survived in spite of these chronic kidney diseases, these get rise to a stimulation and they start functioning. And at the same time, you can able to get the new nephrons which are necessary for the kidney function from the stem cell niches which are present around subcapsular region. So this is not a one-time procedure, but one thing is important that it is a very safe method. It is a very safe method. There is no necessity of any legal permission or anything. It is a safe, economical. There is no necessity of giving any another medicines for the only thing we have to be careful about giving rise to kidney infection. You can start your whatever the treatment you are giving to the chronic kidney disease patient. That treatment you can carry out till we can see the response from this whatever the procedure we are carried out. And afterwards, we can do the effect of pressure or process now. Now that due to the pressure, the fibrosis breaks, separated, thinned out, and then eliminated. This is the most targeted thing, and it's a detection. So because what happens in the fibrosis, when you give an antifibrotic drug, the fibrosis is a natural substance in the body. Whenever you try to halt or try to slow down the process, we are going against nature by giving the antifibrotic drugs. And because of this thing, 1 hour a day or other, it rebounds. Because nature doesn't want any reflexes from anybody else. It doesn't want any human interference by eliminating or obstructing him to form anything. So we see that some effect in earlier days, but afterwards we see that the effect will not be there, and that fibrosis rebounds and develops total kidney failure. So this is therefore it is better that we can try to eliminate this fibrosis or try to treat this renal fibrosis as a natural way. The natural way to treat the renal fibrosis is the pressure or the hydrostatic pressure, which is seen. It is a normal thing in our body also. But here the hydrostatic pressure, which is why we are giving, is in a high way. We are giving a more pressure by artificial way. In that way also, the urine which is there, which is present in the body itself, so there is no extra outside fluid is given to the patient to give the pressure. So this is the advantage that we can able to give this hydrostatic pressure in situ directly to the fibrotic kidney. So because of this compression is relieved, the microvascularity is also increased. The elasticity of the tissue is also increased. The elasticity of the macrovessels also be increased and giving rise to more and blood to the tissues which are damaged or ischemic, and this regeneration will be very important because it's a permanent thing. Whatever the angiogenesis or the vascularity which is developed, it's a permanent effect. It is not that we are just making it and going, because the fibrosis is eliminating automatically when the vascularity is developed. And improving the oxidation is the most important thing in the regeneration of the kidney itself. So what are the effects? I just now stated at the mechanical staging. The staging of the cells gives rise to growth of the cells, shape of the cells, proliferation, cell size, function of the tissue, cell growth, cell expression, gene expression, and give rise to mechanical cues also, the immunity and the stronger and tissue integrity and the strength. These are the mechanical stitching. But suppose if you not do a not stitching at all, then you see that the cell will go into death. But if you at all you give a stitching destination, the cell gets a spreading effect and they start growing. So this is the effect of stitching over the cells. So when the fibrosis is there, the cells under the subcapsule region, the stem cell niches which are present in the stem cell niches under the capsule, they also will be unfunctional because of the fibrosis. They don't have give the power to do stretching type of effect. But once you give the stretching by relaxation technique, these cells also get automatically the stretching exercise and they also get the regenerative power to develop more and more vascularity and their own function, which is there. So coming to the that quickest way to attack renal fibrosis is the direct action in situ to eliminate fibrosis. There is no direct, indirect action. So you must, because wherever you do any antifibrotic medicines, the effect is less, but the side effects are more. And the another important thing, you cannot assess the fibrosis in any case. Whenever you antifibrotics, we cannot assess whether the drug is effective or not. So even though we do the renal biopsy, therefore we do renal biopsies. So renal biopsies every time when we don't know whether we can hit the proper target or not. Sometimes the renal chronic renal failure, we find that we are affecting the normal tissue, and sometimes we may affect the wrong thing. So we may judge that by sometimes we get a chronic renal failure because of the scattered fibrosis. So at that time, renal fibrosis, the biopsy will not be a key criteria. It's a golden rule. But sometimes to whether the effect of the drug is there or not, we do multiple biopsies. Actually, doing multiple biopsy also a wrong thing because a piercing injury itself stimulates the fibrosis. Stimulating injury itself is a piercing, give rise to fibrosis. So before doing any renal biopsy, we must think 100 times because otherwise you may give the bleeding also, infection, and unnecessarily we land because already the patient is in difficulty and therefore it may develop more and more problem. So, but at present, there is no other way to assess the fibrosis in the renal tissue. Even though MRI and the CT scan will do, but the exact, but nowadays it has been done that because of the blood supply, oxygenation, lymphatic tissue, out because these are the flowing tissue inside the kidney itself. And on that basis, if you can able to just with the help of the MRI or CT scan, it will much more better. It will give more assistance to the person who is treating the patient because doing kidney biopsy is not a good thing. It is sometimes for the diagnostic purpose, initially it is okay, but not for the other thing because it complications are more. Patient has to stay in the hospital. Economically also he's been disturbed. And on the top of it, there is a not proper because from a small single piece of kidney, we can able to detect the whole kidney. So that assessment will not be there. So before that, I can to conclusion, I say that we can say that how you can predict that whether the kidney is recovering or not. That maybe the question comes after the treatment. That one thing is that you can do the MRI or CT scan at the time. You can see the thickness of the kidney because when the fibrosis is there, the kidney goes on shrinking. And at the last stage, we can say that when the kidney goes on fibrosis, at the end, you can say that it is a form of a solid ball. Kidney is just like a solid ball. And because of this thing, the kidney becomes shrunken. So when the things are, what we are saying is a regeneration is taking place, that indicate the thickness of the skin is increased. The volume of the kidney is also increased. And at the same time, We can say these things, the blood urea, serum creatine, and the most important is the urinary output. The GFR, the glomerular filtration rate, the urinary output is the most important thing. Once you see that the urinary output is increased, then indicate that regeneration is taking place. So therefore, coming to the conclusion, the first step in innovation, you must find the solution. The biological system has got potential to regenerate. How to make it happen is our destiny. Do not try to replace nature. Let nature can do as well as he can, and environment to generate. The creation of an artificial organ in lab presents looks far away from the target. It is important to cure the patient from the disease rather than what medicine is used or what cell used. Importantly, to treat the patient. What medicine has been given, it is better that patient should be cured. That is the aim is there to patient to cure the, and not the method or the cells. So bioartificial lab kidney is a short-term solution for the dialysis and longer but an impermanent living kidney. In situ generation utilizes the body's own biological resources, that is cell organ regeneration. The blue strip are the subcapsule region, the stem cell niches which are present, that's for natural cells, so which are stimulated and they form the damaged kidney tissue and they form the function of that process a normal kidney there. So we can say at that time we form secondary development of the kidney. At reparative capability of creating a healthy microenvironment is the solution. So by eliminating the fibrosis, creating a microenvironment is the most important thing in the case of treating the patient in the chronic kidney failure. If we wait for every question to be answered, the novel treatment based on self-organ regeneration into human healthcare will impossible. We set up a therapeutic implementation to create a chronic ischemic environment in early stage of kidney to stimulate C2 generation and the function of the kidney. The earliest you do are in the first stage and the second stage, you try to treat this patient with the help of this hydrostatic pressure, if you can get good results. And even in the small children, it's do rise to good because they are young, they got plenty of stem cell niches are present, and because of that thing, the effect will go. Formation of the fibrosis is not that solid what we see in the adult. This thinner out position or the effect of this hydropressure will be more effective in the children rather than the adults, because this in children it is sometimes acquired one, but in adults when you take about the concern with their having the secondary diseases like hypertension, diabetes, and obesity that will give rise to fibrosis, and it's a long-standing one. It's a chronic thing. So it becomes more and more solid, and therefore treating such a type of patient. So early treatment in first and second stage is very important. As the fibrosis goes on increasing, the elasticity of the tissue becomes less and less. The fibrosis is more. At that time, stretching is very, very difficult. And therefore, early detection, early treatment is the most favorable in the repairing the chronic kidney diseases. In the kidney actually ranks very highly in the ability of repair itself. So we know that the regenerative power, the kidney has got it. How to use it or how to stimulate it to repair the tissue is very important. And therefore, by giving the medicine or making the cells in the laboratory will not solve the problem. We have to think of this in situ position. We try to create the laboratory in situ position or in situ microenvironment. We'll try to do it in the laboratory, but cannot be possible. So therefore, sometimes if you make some cells or the same cells in the laboratory and we push it in the kidney itself to implant it, they will not survive because there is a sudden change of environment and therefore they die. So the idea expressed in the intended as a means of broadening the importance is how to eliminate the renal fibrosis and stimulate regeneration by non-invasive technique at the appropriate time and appropriate patient. Thank you. Thank you.